What attracted me to work at First Five Sonoma County? When I was first hired as First Five Sonoma County's executive director in 2016, I had already been engaged with First Five for a few years, I would say many years. First Five as a funder when I worked at Community Action Partnership, and I worked with First Five as a champion of prevention when I managed the Upstream Investments Initiative at Sonoma County Human Services Department. The mission of First Five has always resonated so deeply with me, investing in children, especially in the first few years of life, making sure that parents and caregivers and our whole community has all of the supports they need to make sure that young children are developing and thriving. So when the opportunity to lead First Five in the role of executive director came along, I knew it was meant to be, and I'm still here almost 10 years later. Tell us about a recent project you're proud of and the role of its success. I am so proud of the work we've done as a team in collaboration with the First Five Sonoma County Commission over the last 5 years to more explicitly center racial equity in our work. As a white leader, I continue to feel morally obligated to use my own positionality and my privilege to keep this focus in the very front of my mind in nearly everything we do. This has been arduous work, but the most important work of my whole career. It started with a simple statement of commitment from the Commission in our last strategic plan to prioritize our resources and our efforts to evolve in as measurable ways as possible into an authentically anti-racist organization, to go beyond the performative, beyond statements and resolutions. Since then, First Five has developed a framework of strategies. We've engaged in training, healing circles for staff, ongoing study and personal reflection. We've firmly centered racial diversity and equity in our hiring practices, how we compensate our employees, and other personnel policies and practices. And we've also shifted the way we prioritize community investments, the most important thing we do. So the way we make grants and develop our contracts so that we're authentically centering the needs and the hopes and the dreams of families and providers that are at the margins of opportunity in Sonoma County. So this means our Black, Brown, Indigenous families and providers, LGBTQ plus families, children with disabilities, and immigrant families who are currently being targeted by the federal administration, really putting young children at serious risk for traumatic impacts. So we're confident that by listening to the voices of and centering and lifting up these folks as we do our work at First Five, that we'll be more deeply and broadly able to benefit the entire community, not the other way around. I am one of those work hard, play hard kinds of people. I tend to burn the candle at both ends. I go to a lot of concerts. I love live music and dancing. I find it very healing, especially during these times. I also love travel. Whenever I can, I combine travel and concerts. My wife and I have a travel trailer and have been fortunate enough to have camped in lots of state and national parks, BLM land in California, but Utah, Colorado, up the coast to Washington. We love to take a trip to the desert during the winter. We also spend a lot of time each summer kayaking the Russian River. We live out in Guerneville, and we often take our little French bulldogs with us on day trips from Guerneville to Monterey on the river. So 3 words I would use to describe myself would be determined, resilient, and steadfast.